Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch movies and then talk about them, all thanks to the random, mighty algorithm. All hail the algorithm. And with me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Barbra Streisand to my Barbra Streisand effect, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Seddon. How you doing, Kyle?
People who need people. I don't need people. I'm fine.
Okay.
No, I'm doing good. I went to Disney World.
That's
with
exciting.
my family. Yes.
What was your favorite ride?
Hands down, Rise of the Resistance. Best ride in all of Disney World.
I've been to Disney World probably at least 10 times by my count, and then once to Disneyland in California.
Oh.
But yeah, my favorite
This
ride.
was my second time.
So you got some catching up to do.
Yes. What was your favorite ride?
My favorite ride has always been a Haunted Mansion.
Oh, we did go on that with the kids. It was great. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if have you been there since Rise of the Resistance came about?
I have not. I know they were I haven't been there since they put in the Star Wars land.
Okay. Yeah, Galaxy's Edge is pretty amazing, and Rise of the Resistance is... that was actually the last ride we went on of our entire trip, and it was an amazing ride to go out on. So
that's awesome. End on a great note like that.
Yeah. Good time. Magical place, that Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Magically expensive.
Magically expensive, yes. That's the truth of it. Now it's just going to get more and more expensive because of the Genie Pass.
Yeah. They've got some kinks to work out with that, because there was some rides we couldn't go on because Genie Pass is not a great system yet.
That's frustrating.
So, yeah. But we got on most of the stuff we wanted to do. There was only a few rides that I really wanted to hit that I didn't get to.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But we're here to talk about movies,
I suppose, and this is one of our mini episodes, which may end up being a maxi episode, depending on how things go. But yeah, we're here to talk about the random movies we've been watching. So Kyle, what you been watching? It's been, 5 weeks since we last recorded?
Yeah, so I got a lot. So I won't talk a lot about each one of the movies, but, whether I recommend them or not. First one is The Right Stuff from 1983. I watched this because I actually recommended it without ever having seen it before after we watched Hidden Figures. And I can stand by that recommendation. It was really good. It was about the crews going up during the time that it's the same crew that they're talking about with in Hidden Figures. So
the Mercury 7, yes.
Yes, the Mercury 7. So during the whole big space race with Russia. So it was, it's a good movie, and you should watch it. Then on HBO Max, I watched The Empty Man from 2020. I hadn't heard much about this, and then I saw a couple reviews said, oh, this is actually kind of good. So I thought, well, it's HBO Max. I'll check it out. It kind of has that Candyman, like almost type of vibe at first, because it's like, oh, you stand on an empty bridge and blow into a beer bottle or a bottle or whatever and say empty man or something like that, so many times. And then the empty man appears. And
is it Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man?
Yes. It's just a man, just empty bandages, just walks up to you.
I knew it.
But it is very similar because then, things happen, but I liked the route that it took it, and it was interesting, and not maybe the best movie in the world, but it's on HBO Max, and if you're a horror fan, I'd recommend it. Then also in the horror realm, I rented Don't Breathe 2 from 2021 because I'm a huge fan of the first Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe 2, Exhale?
Exhale. Waiting to exhale.
That's what they should have called it.
Yeah, this one was interesting because the first one was a fantastic movie, and then you have to keep the character, Stephen Lang's character, for the second one. But how do you make the antagonist of the first movie like almost the protagonist of the second movie? And
so they kind of do the Terminator 2 thing.
Yeah, only he's still not a great guy, but he's up against worse people. So I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a decent sequel, but obviously the first one is so much better. But it was interesting where they took this one. It was kind of weird, almost like you're rooting for this guy. It's like, no, he's still a terrible, terrible person. He's a bad man. So Oh, it was interesting. Then on DVD, I watched Fame from 1980. It's been a long time since I saw this. I found it interesting. The God, what was his character's name from RoboCop? Not not the Red Foreman, but his sidekick, the red-haired guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that's where I always know this guy from. And then in this one, he's like a dancer who's got problems because he's gay. And, this is 1980 New York. And, um, but this movie was interesting because it's a group of kids going to a music school. So there's dance and instruments and all this stuff. Is one of those musical arts schools. I think it's a high school. And it just kind of deals with, it's crazy how much they put in there, like, family problems, gay issues, like, because still 80s were still not quite it's still not accepted. And then I think there was all sorts of different issues. I think they brought up abortion in this movie, like just, and somehow they crammed all that in, and it didn't feel like it was all forced in there. It was because you're following several different students in this. I like this movie actually. And I'd recommend it.
So from like a length perspective, does it feel the length, or does it feel like, like I think of musicals, I think of long ones, like The Sound of Music, which feels long, but in a good way?
Yeah, even though Sound of Music is a great movie, you do feel the length after a while. But no, this one I really didn't. It didn't feel super long. So
you didn't have that one part where you just kind of go like take a break and like go pee while the movie's still going?
No, because this one, even though I don't even remember how long it was. It's probably about 2 hours, but you're going go because you're going from this person back to this person, back to this person, this person. There's about 3 main characters, but you're going through a lot of characters, so there's really no downtime in the movie.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd recommend that one.
So everyone knows though that the best time to pee for Sound of Music is Climb Every Mountain, where they just have the nuns sing and stand there.
Yes. Not during the intermission?
No, not during the intermission. You fast forward the intermission when you're just watching at home.
Oh, okay. Then on DVD, I rented Candyman from 2021. I know you talked about this one.
Yeah, I saw that one in theater. So what do you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. It was cool. I like that they continued on with the lore, and I like where it went at the end. And it kind of, the first one you can tell is about like gentrification and there's race issues and all that stuff. It's more in the forefront in this one and kind of brings it out a little better, I think, almost than the first movie.
Yeah, because the first one was ultimately, written by white people, directed by white people, starring white people as the main character. Now this one, it's Nia DaCosta who wrote and directed this one, I believe, and she is black as well as following a black protagonist. And then even produced by, like, Jordan Peele had a bit of some hand in it as well.
Yeah, and your protagonist is like coming into this area and he learns about the Candyman. So then he's an artist and his girlfriend's got an art gallery, and then he starts making art based on the Candyman. And then, of course, Candyman appears because it's a Candyman movie. So
he only kills white people.
And some of the aesthetic of the movie too is really cool,
especially like the puppets and the shadows.
Yeah, it was a really cool looking movie too, as well as just being a good solid flick. So I'd highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Then I watched on DVD again. I watched a 2020 film called The Night House with Rebecca Hall. And this one is this girl who just lost her husband to suicide. She is living in their cabin house on the lake. So like it's kind of secluded. And while she's living there, she starts seeing things, and then she starts putting together pieces of something strange is going on, and she thinks she sees her dead husband and all this. And I don't want to say too much more about it because I'm going to actually recommend this one as well. It was a very creepy movie, and very atmospheric, and I really liked this one. And
I'm sure it's just like the Lake House with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves.
Yes, that was a horror movie too, right?
It's maybe.
Then continue with the horror movies I watched on Netflix. Countdown from 2019. And if you've seen the trailer for this, yes, it's exactly what you're expecting. This is about some, high school or college age kids. I don't even know. They download an app that tells you like the exact day, month, minute, second you're going to die. And it's kind of like, it's got that Final Destination feel where it's like, oh crap, my time's coming up. And then they're finding out, oh, this is for real. And so they're trying to cheat death in it. And it's stupid and fun. And watch this one with a friend, because I actually recommend watching this just because there's some moments that are good in it, but overall it's pretty cheesy, but in a fun, cheesy way. I had fun watching this movie.
Nice. I am a fan of just like something about some Final Destination can be fun just because of just how
I've got the whole
things can get.
I've got the whole Final Destination series on DVD. Nice. I love it. So this one is, I don't even know if you can even call it as good as Final Destination, but it's cheesy fun. Watch it with a friend when you just want something like that's got a couple of fun jump scares, but also is something you can sit there and laugh at in a good way.
Nice. I'm here for that.
And then on Tubi TV, I watched a 1990 film, Dark Angel, or as I like to call it, I Come in Peace. You go in pieces. This is Dolph Lundgren. He's a cop chasing drug dealers, and then there's an alien involved who's stealing like adrenaline out of people's brains or something. I don't know. And it's a crazy movie, and I love it.
Nice.
So I mean, you either know what that is or you don't, and you're going to know if that movie's for you. It's one of those, and I absolutely love it. Then in the last few weeks, I know this will be posted way later, but in the last couple of weeks, the Oscar nominations were announced. So I watched a couple Oscar nominees. On Apple TV Plus, I watched Coda, and I really liked this. This is one of the Best Picture nominees this year. This is about a girl who lives with whose entire family, her parents and her brother, are all deaf, and she's the only person in the family who can hear. And CODA actually stands for Children of Deaf Adults. But in her case, even her brother is deaf. So like it was a really interesting look into what life is like for someone who, if a whole family has a disability and you don't, and how that can actually be a struggle, because she had to constantly be an interpreter for her family. She couldn't have a life of her own, all this stuff. And then in this story, she wants to be a singer. And so that makes it even tougher, so, because that's not something the rest of her family can enjoy. So, and it was a really good movie, and the end will make you tear up a little, and I'd highly recommend it. This is worthy of a Best Picture nod. I really liked this movie.
That's great. I know one of the actors, I believe, is also getting a lot of awards tracking right now as well.
Oh yeah, and another great thing is that the mother, the mother is Marlee Matlin.
Yeah, her.
Yeah, I'm like, is that her first name, Marlee?
I think so.
Okay. And then so she's deaf in real life, and obviously, and I mean, people know that. But then the father and the brother, they actually got deaf actors to play, and
That's great.
the father was awesome. So, yeah, really good movie. Then also on Apple TV Plus, I watched another nominee. I think this one was a nominee for something. The Tragedy of Macbeth, with Denzel Washington playing Macbeth.
And Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth.
Yes, and this was directed by one of the Coen brothers, Joel Coen. And yeah, great cast. You've got Denzel Washington, who's amazing because he's amazing in everything. And Frances McDormand, who is amazing because she's amazing in everything. And then there was an actor in there. I was like, where do I know that guy from? I was like, oh, I looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter.
Nice.
He looks so different because he's not a short, chunky kid anymore. But yeah, it's Macbeth. I think people know the story of Macbeth. It's a Shakespeare movie. If you're not into Shakespeare, this is done very minimalist and kind of dry, but I really liked the minimalist approach. The cinematography was great. It was all shot in black and white, and the acting was just phenomenal. I think it can be a little dry for some people, and typically, although typically Shakespeare can get, I don't understand it well, but I felt like this time I watched this, I was like, oh, I'm actually following this, even though it's still done in Shakespearean language. So
Yeah.
good movie. It's on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, if you want a Shakespeare adaptation that also doesn't necessarily, of Macbeth, that doesn't rely on the language as much, I think I would argue that Throne of Blood, directed by Akira Kurosawa, was an amazing adaptation taken to feudal Japan. So it's got samurai, but still got like the murder, the chaos, the madness, all
cool.
the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. Yes. Then on our way back from Disney World on the airplane, I watched. We had a long flight, so I watched Jaws: The Revenge from 1987.
Is this the one with Michael Caine?
Yes, this is the one with Michael Caine where the shark has a vendetta against the family.
Yeah, it's so great.
It's such a bad movie, but such a great movie.
I'm also a fan of the fact that, like, yeah, someone once asked Michael Caine, like, did you ever see the movie? He said, no, but I saw the house it bought and it was lovely.
Yes. This is the infamous Michael Caine movie. It's like, yeah, I'd do this shit for money.
He's a working actor and you got to respect that.
He is, because, I mean, even when he does stuff like this just for the paycheck, he doesn't sleepwalk through stuff. So, I mean, you still get Michael Caine in this movie.
Yeah, and I like the part where, like, at one point, like, he comes out of the water with a wet shirt, and then, like, the next shot, his shirt is dry or something.
Oh, I think I missed that. I was watching this on an airplane on a tiny screen on the back of the seat in front of me. So
okay, so
I probably missed a few things. And then every once in a while you'd get like them announcing over the PA system, but it would go into your headset. So like it would cut out the sound of the movie too. So I missed stuff there, but yeah, it was a fun movie to watch on the plane because it's nice. It was cheesy and past my time. Then I watched another Oscar nominee on HBO Max. I watched Nightmare Alley from 2021.
Nice. I wanted to see this one. I absolutely adore the original one from 1947.
And you had mentioned that before, and I want to watch it because I didn't love this one. It looks really great because it's Guillermo del Toro directing. It's interesting. I like the story, but something just didn't click with me. This is about a guy who kind of a drifter, con man, ends up in a circus, and then he falls in with the mind reader group and gets some tips and tricks from them, and goes off on his own to create a show. And he takes a woman that he met at the circus with him and they do a show together. And then there's all this. It's a very noir mystery film. What's going on, and I don't know. There was just something that didn't click with me with this one. I might have to give it a rewatch sometime. It was well acted, great cast, but it was still a good movie. I'll say that.
Yeah, I know it's on HBO Max. I'll have to get to this one hopefully sooner rather than later.
It's worth at least a look. So I'll be interested to see what you think of it. Then on DVD, I watched a 2021 film called The Card Counter. And this is with Oscar Isaac and Tiffany Haddish and Ty Sheridan, written and directed by Paul Schrader. So this is about a guy. Oscar Isaac is a guy who just goes around to casinos and plays cards, and that's just basically that's his life. And then he runs into this kid who at a casino, and he takes him up almost as like a charity case, but you learn some stuff about Oscar Isaac's past, and he's kind of connected to this kid because of something. And being a Paul Schrader film, it's an interesting character study. And I really liked this one. This is a slow burn, again, because it's a Paul Schrader film. So, but he always writes such interesting characters, and he doesn't, he's writing in such a way that he doesn't tell you what you're supposed to think of this character. He just lets you figure that out on your own. And I kind of like that because this character wasn't a bad character. He wasn't a great character, but he wasn't a bad guy either. And like you get to just kind of decide yourself what how to interpret this guy.
Yeah, that can be pretty interesting, although sometimes it can also backfire a little bit where if they don't tell you enough about the character, then you're just like, okay, I don't care about this person.
He does tell enough about this character
Okay.
and you do. Yeah, there is enough. And Oscar Isaac's performance is great. He's such a great actor, and I can't wait to see him in more things. I'm excited to see him in Moon Knight.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting.
So, if you're a Paul Schrader fan, First Reformed was another one he directed with Ethan Hawke. He wrote Taxi Driver, obviously. That's one of his biggest well-known written movies. If you're a fan of his, I would recommend this one. So, then I watched another 2021 film on DVD, Last Night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright film.
I also watched this one on DVD.
I was kind of met on this one too.
Yeah, I like this one. I just feel like some of it might just because our expectations from Edgar Wright is because obviously he's more of a comedy. He comes from a comedy background, and his comedy films are beloved.
Yeah.
So it could be a little resistance to trying to see him do straight thriller or almost even more horror in some aspects. But I thought it was very well put together from a technical perspective. It was fun to watch. It was very watchable, I thought. But yeah, I can agree in the sense that there was just some part of it that just didn't quite fully mesh for me to really, really give it a high recommend. I'd still recommend it though.
I would too, but I think my problem is that I wasn't expecting, because I knew it was more of a thriller movie, I wasn't expecting any sort of comedy in here. However, he's usually so good with editing things together in such a stylistic way, and I felt like this felt almost bland for him, and it I don't know, I wasn't in love with a lot of the shot choices in the movie, and I thought the story was okay, but it was well acted, and I felt like there was this whole thing about the 60s, and I thought that was going somewhere, and it just didn't.
It's almost like you thought he was going to make a bigger point about the 60s, but then it just kind of didn't get. Maybe if they just got one more polish at the screen in the screenwriting stage, that could have gotten more of a point across.
Yeah, because I think that was my biggest disappointment. Was the whole movie focused so much on her love of the 60s, and then you get to the end of the movie and go, her love of the 60s had nothing to do with the plot and nothing to do with any character development, and nothing, it didn't have anything to do with anything. It just went nowhere. And it was such a big part of the whole movie, it just went nowhere. So I think that was another thing that kind of threw me off with the movie. I think I need to maybe rewatch this, but I don't think I'm going to rewatch it anytime soon.
Yeah, it's almost like you wanted to say, I thought what I was expecting for the ultimate lesson to be is, the 60s also kind of sucked for a lot of people, and we know it did, but then you need to get a little bit of that with the relationship between Sandy and Jack. But it seems like Ellie never really learns that lesson. She still likes the music from the 60s and the clothes.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, they're pretty good. It's pretty good music and pretty good clothes. So
right. So another one worth a look. I'm not making it a high recommend. And then I watched on Blu-ray because I bought a Stallone 5-pack.
Nice.
I watched 1989's Tango and Cash, and you've heard me talk about this before, so I won't say anything other than it's awesome. It's one of my favorite movies. Well, I love Tango.
Don't forget
Cash and Tango.
Doesn't he say Rambo's a pussy at one point?
Yes, he does. He thinks he's Rambo or something. Rambo's a pussy.
Personally, I'm a fan of you could argue the third member of the trio, Robert Zadar.
Yes. Well, I read somewhere that he's at the beginning when he stops the semi full of drugs and goes through the window or whatever, and the director just liked him so much that they brought him back in for the prison scene.
Nice.
So the cast is just a great cast of character actors. You got Robert Zadar, you got with Michael J. Pollard, and then you God, who else is it? There's so many faces that you recognize in the movie. And yeah. But like I said, I've talked about that. I talked about this one in the past one, and Tango and Cash is one of the greatest movies. Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone. Go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on HBO Max, I watched a 2021 film called Nobody.
This is the Bob. It was like, wow, Bob Odenkirk can do action movie, right?
Yes, this is like the suburban dad version of John Wick. This guy, it starts out he's kind of a sad sack, and it looks like his marriage is kind of on the rocks, and his house gets robbed, and he goes out to try and find who did it to get his daughter's bracelet back or whatever. And I don't want to say anything else because I didn't know any more than that going in, and I thought it was going to be like, oh, the dad finds the courage to go beat up these guys and whatever, and even in the poster and stuff, it's him getting punched out in the face. So, and this went in a direction that I didn't see coming, and it was a whole lot of fun. I really liked this movie. This might be one of my higher recommendations of the week.
Nice.
It's on HBO Max, and Bob Odenkirk is great in this. And this is fun. And you get Christopher Lloyd in this too, and he's got a great role in this.
Really, you don't see him that much anymore. That's great.
Yeah, he plays Bob Odenkirk's dad in this, and I dug the hell out of this movie. So, yeah, high recommend.
So they put this on Kyle's Father's Day list.
Yes, right. And then the final movie I watched these last several weeks was just the other day on Hulu. I watched my first 2022 release. I watched No Exit on Hulu. And this is about a girl who's going to see her mom in the hospital, and she's going through a mountain area, and big snowstorm hits. So she gets stuck in like this travel lodge that's closed, but the cops open it up for a few people to go in, and then the cop took off. And then while this girl is like trying to get a signal on her phone out in the parking lot, she sees that a girl's been kidnapped. And then it's like, oh, who in this building is the one who kidnapped this girl? And then you get some good tension and a good tense little thriller, small cast. I don't remember the main girl's name, but she did a really good job. And then Dennis Haysbert is in it. Dale Dickey is in it. So, and then a couple other actors I didn't know. But this is on Hulu. It's a new movie, and I recommend this one as well.
That's great. It almost sounds, from that setup, it sounds like an Agatha Christie style film with small cast, a single location, mystery style.
Yeah, and it was done, and it was done really well, I think. So I would recommend this one. Fun little thriller.
I'll have to check that out then.
So, and that's what I've been watching. Lots of stuff.
Okay. We already talked about Last Night in Soho, so I don't have to talk about that one. But that one kind of fascinates me in a certain way, because I could probably talk about that one for like half an hour or more, just for I don't know, just because I'm really interested in Edgar Wright's career. I'm curious of where he's going to go from here, because I don't know how well this film did at the box office. It was kind of received okay, but I'm sure he's fine. Like, if he gets a situation where like he wants to make another comedy, I'm sure that'll do well, just because it's something he clearly is very good at.
Even though this one didn't really strike me like his comedies do, he did well enough on this that I'd like to see him go out and do more things that he wants to do.
Yeah, I want to see him do more interesting stuff, something weirder. Like, I'd be curious to see, because I know like his first movie he ever made was like a parody of a Western called like A Fistful of Fingers or something. And that's like really hard to find for like rights issues.
Right, Western would be great.
Yeah, so I'd love to see him get like a Western with a studio budget behind it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Honestly, I'll just I'll probably try and watch at least whatever he does next.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I forget if did I talk about 21 Jump Street on the podcast before? I don't remember.
No, I don't think you have. I don't think we've talked about that one.
Because I had kind of my notes, the wrong date written here for when I started watching these. So I wasn't sure if I'd talked about it before or not. But anyway, so I watched 21 Jump Street. I'd never seen it before with, Channing Tatum,
I
and,
saw this one in the
and
theater.
Jonah
I
Hill.
loved
Yeah,
it.
Rob Riggle as the gym teacher. Lots of fun actors showing up here. Like Ice Cube is kind of their handler, and then the police chief or captain, played by Ron Swanson, aka Nick Offerman.
Yeah, this movie cracked me up in the theater when I went and saw it the first time.
And just the drugs and just Dave Franco. Just
Is this the one where also there's like they go in with aliases is like I'm Boots.
no, this is the one where just like I'm Doug, I'm Brad, and they switch places, so they think they're like so they think Jonah Hill is the athletic one, and then the artistic one is actually like Channing Tatum. So he's sitting there in theater class, not knowing what to do, and they're both kind of like stuck.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I love
Trying to
that. I love when they go to college. It's like they play off the whole like nerds are cool now. So like Channing Tatum is like, yeah, I'm going to be the cool one at school, and then it's like, isn't it Jonah Hill that ends up being?
Yeah, he becomes the one people really like, and then he's like,
Yeah,
and then Channing Tatum is stuck with like the science bros, and then
yeah. I need to
drugs.
revisit this. Is this on streaming? Because I need to revisit this one because it was hilarious.
Don't remember if it is, but I think it is somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I just want to point out this one and the 22 Jumpsuit were both directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller from the Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. He also worked on the more recent Mitchells versus the Machines. They did really well there. So they're both really, really very funny people, and I'm glad they were able to make this movie. Sorry I missed it in the theater. It came out when I was in high school, so I probably should have watched it then. It also has Brie Larson in it as kind of like the main love interest.
Oh, I kind of forgot that. Yeah, I think everything that Lord Miller touches gold. If it's got their name attached to it, I'm going to watch it.
And this one was a rewatch for me. It was a Picture of Dorian Gray from 1945. My mom had to read the book for her book club, so I just said, hey, I'd seen this movie before. I'd read the book. Might as well watch it again. This one's fun because it's mostly in black and white with some color bits. And the color bits are just when we get to see the painting in its full glory, painted by real-life painter Ivan Albright. And you get to see the before and the after, and the whole basic thing behind Picture of Dorian Gray is he makes a wish so that his painting ages while he stays the same. So every time he does something terrible, his painting kind of shows what his soul is supposed to look like, how it gets uglier and uglier. When he does something terrible, like he says he's going to marry someone, and then he decides against it and ostracizes them completely. It's also got a very young Angela Lansbury in it.
Oh,
so it's fun.
I've not seen this.
I'd highly recommend it if you're familiar with the story, even if you're not, because it does get it does get pretty dark at some points. And the final painting, when you get to see how ugly his soul is, they shoot that in color as well, and it's pretty striking. And what's fun about that is that actual painting from the film is now hanging in the Chicago Art Institute.
Oh, cool.
So you actually can go see it in person. It is still, and it's a big painting, so it's really large. It's really fun to sort of look at all the details and see what it really looks like in real life if you ever happen to be in that area.
Awesome.
Next, I watched 22 Jump Street.
Where they moved across the street.
Yes, where they went across the street.
I love that explanation for the title. It's great.
Yep, and then they have money now, so then Ice Cube gets like a giant glass cube and just...
Ice Cube and an ice cube.
And then like they actually go to college, and then they're making fun of just how old they look. Yeah, and then it's like all turns out that like Jonah Hill's sleeping with Ice Cube's daughter, and just...
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, because there was a whole restaurant scene with all that too, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
This was just as funny as the first one, I think.
It was great, and I also really enjoy that they were very self-aware with the sequels. Like, it's going to be just like before.
Yeah.
Find the deal, find the supplier, bring him in, just like last time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then we even get to see like Rob Riggle and Dave Franco in prison. And at one point, they spend about probably the first third of the movie looking for a guy with a very distinct tattoo. And so then they find this guy with a tattoo. It's like, oh, hey, what's your ink? It's like, oh, you're never gonna believe this. It's from my high school mascot. They're the Duncanville Red Herrings.
Oh, good stuff.
And then the quarterback that Channing Tatum becomes really good buddies with, and even has like a dumb meat cute where he's like eating a Q-tip. The one is having a sandwich. Oh, look, it's like a Q-tip in your meat. It's like a meat cute or something.
Oh, I remember that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, it turns out that was actually played by Wyatt Russell, son Kurt Russell's son, who also played U.S. Agent No in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so dumb. It's so good. And I do like when they do have to finally go on spring break, like the resort that some people are staying at in Spanish, it shows as like stupid white people.
Awesome.
And then of course, the credit sequence where they're just like, okay, now you're going to this school. Now you're going to this school. And it just shows all the posters for like 24 Jump Street's flight school, 29 Jump Street, like clown school, medical school, just.
Yeah, that was a great a gag at the end of this movie. Was all the sequels.
One of them was like Divinity School, but then for some reason, like they replaced Jonah Hill with Seth Rogen for one. Then he comes back the next one. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. There weren't any contract issues.
Oh, so funny.
So they just kind of beat it into the ground in a good way.
I've been meaning to revisit these.
I also found out that we almost did get a sequel. It never made. It was called 23 MIB, where they crossed over with the Men in Black franchise.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
It seemed kind of out there, but it also does kind of make sense in a sense of action comedy sort of way.
That would have been fun.
But it never happened, so I'm so sad.
Bummer.
Next, lastly, I saw Bridesmaids. Never watched that for the first time. I can understand why people like that one.
I enjoyed that one. There was some of it I didn't care for. Some of it was really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Kristen Wiig and Erhol and Maya Rudolph and all their friends. And they obviously work very well together and have a lot of fun. And just people remember this movie for a reason. I remember when it first came out, I didn't see it because it seemed like the first movie that kind of proved that comedies for women can be like just as funny or just as gross as comedies for men.
Yeah, well, and I think that was one of the things I didn't like about the movie because if I remember correctly, I think I liked all the Kristen Wiig and Chris O'Dowd stuff because they were a couple in the movie, and I thought that was all funny. But like, Rebel Wilson got on my nerves in this movie because, like, the poop joke in the wedding dress shop was funny, but then it just kept going and going and going way too far and just drove itself into the ground. Like some of the gross out comedy of this kind of went too far, not like too far gross wise, but just too far as, okay, just stop already. I think that was my, but most of the movie I did find really funny though. So
yeah. And just, Rose Byrne is kind of like the perfect one who always has everything, has tons of money, and then just like, oh, come on. It's pretty silly. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes when like towards the end where Maya Rudolph's character has gone missing, so then Kristen Wiig and Rose Byrne trying to do everything they can to like distract Chris O'Dowd to get his attention. Just kept driving by, speeding, and just doing all these other things you shouldn't supposed to be doing in a car. Look at us, we're drinking and driving. Oh no.
Oh, and I think I said Rebel Wilson. It was Melissa McCarthy was.
I know Rebel Wilson was barely in this one.
Okay, yeah, so it was. I think Melissa McCarthy was in it, and she was part of the whole scene in the shop. Right?
But I did like Melissa McCarthy later when she just takes like a bunch of puppies. These are all mine.
After this movie, Paul Feig showed that he could work with Melissa McCarthy well because I liked her in several of his other movies.
Yeah, they definitely work really well together. It is kind of interesting to see the start of that relationship because she's playing, the character Megan, obviously more of like a fun side character. Definitely different than, of course, when she did get to do some more mainstream, I guess, be a main character with him in Spy, particularly is one I really loved from them.
That was one of my favorite ones that those two did together with Spy. I liked that one a lot. So you watched a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah, I ended up watching more funny stuff this time. So that's all I got for me. So what do you think you're going to watch next?
Well, I rented from Netflix DVD Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Nice.
I've never seen it before. When I got it, I threw it in the disc in my Blu-ray player, and it was like, we can't read a disc or whatever. It was like there was an error message on there, and I pulled it out. It was cracked all the way from the edge to the middle.
Oh no!
Like completely broken. And so I sent back for it, but they're sending me a replacement disc. So I should have that in a couple of days, and I'll be watching that soon.
Hey, it's a good soundtrack.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like the 70s version of Across the Universe, where it's all different singers singing Beatles songs.
True.
Or like the I Am Sam soundtrack. Other than that, I'm probably going to start trying to watch some more of the Oscar noms.
Yeah, I want to watch Nightmare Alley for sure. And then I know we finally recently got like a teaser trailer for Guillermo del Toro's like stop motion version of Pinocchio, which looks amazing.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So probably the Nightmare Alley is what I'm looking forward to the most at this point.
I think West Side Story is coming to Disney Plus soon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's one other movie you might have to watch. It's about some guy who dresses up like a bat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't go to the theater anymore, so hopefully, it doesn't take too long to get to Blu-ray.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll probably end up on HBO Max eventually because
that's true. I might not even have to buy it. Yeah.
Yep. So
that's a nice thing. DC movies they'll all end up on HBO Max. Not like last year where they did simultaneous, but they'll always end up there.
True. At some point or another, they will probably find a home there. So this that bat fellow guy, Man Bat. I wish it was Man Bat. No,
Man Bat. Yeah, when are they going to put Kirk Langstrom in a Batman?
Yeah,
film?
Batman versus Man Bat. Come on, it's got to happen eventually. Yeah, I've heard good things about this one so far, and also it's probably the longest Batman movie. It's 2 hours.
It is the longest Batman.
Yeah, 2 hours and 56 minutes. So
sweet mother.
I know you're probably better off watching at home so you can pause and take a break.
Right. Although I've heard it's pretty good, so I might not have to pause.
Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many characters you can pull from, and again, they go to Riddler that's been done, and Penguin that's been done, and Catwoman that's been done. And it's just like there are more Batman villains out there. Like, bring them in.
Catwoman I can understand because she can be in the movie, but doesn't necessarily have to be a main focus.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's a pretty easy character to do. Yeah, I hope they get to I'd love to see him go up against some other villain like Clayface. I know that'd be much more involved from an effects standpoint, but it could be a lot of fun. Or just, have him go against Man-Bat. Who knows? But, this isn't a Batman podcast. This is a regular movies podcast. Although we have talked about Batman, we got to continue that series, I suppose.
That's true. I'm excited for this new one, though, so.
I'm sure I'll see it because I'm a white male in his 20s.
But I guess let's wrap this up. And anyway, you can find us online. I'm on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
I'm on Twitter at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
We're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. You can email us, we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Let us know what you've been watching lately. Give us some recommendations for movies. And like and subscribe and all that jazz. And till next time, keep watching.
Yep. And watch out for drugs in a high school or a college. Or whatever happened last night in Soho.